Welcome to the Sleepy Science channel, and hello. We'll be exploring the hidden treasures of the Earth we call home tonight, so I'm so happy you made your way here. Take this opportunity to slow down wherever you are in the globe. Allow your thoughts to settle like leaves on quiet water as the sounds fade and the edges become blurry. We're remaining grounded on Earth tonight. Most of us never realize how amazing, resilient, and fascinating life is on this planet. Earth is alive in ways that will astonish, calm, and awaken something deep within of you. These include sparkling oceans, immortal jellyfish, ancient underground forests, and minuscule animals that can survive in space. Your perspective on the world may shift as a result of some of what you hear. Other discoveries may just drift past, delicate, inquisitive, and subtly memorable like petals on a breeze. Please think about liking and subscribing if this kind of serene wonder makes you KHN or piques your interest. One drowsy soul at a time, it guides others to this place as well. But allow yourself to settle in for the time being. Breathe deeply. Then let's start our leisurely and calming exploration into the wonders of life on Earth. As an ever-living jellyfish, a creature that defies one of nature's most basic principles, drifts in the oceans throughout the world and close to the balmy Mediterranean coast. Often referred to as the everlasting jellyfish, the Torotopsis donnier possesses extraordinary abilities. It has the ability to return its body to a previous stage of life when it is hurt, aging, or threatened. It transforms back into its polyp form, the jellyfish equivalent of childhood, and starts over, much like a butterfly changing back into a caterpillar. This is not merely a theoretical process. It has been routinely seen in laboratories. If the jellyfish is not eaten or destroyed, it may continue to cycle through its life phases indefinitely. It serves as a reminder that nature's creativity is far greater than ours, even though it does not provide the secret to human immortality. This creature, which is silently floating in the sea, has the ability to repeatedly rewind time. Trees communicate with one another in a covert network. There is a covert discussion going on beneath your feet in the silence of a forest. Long believed to be lone giants, trees are actually connected by underground networks of fungal threads called microecia. Trees communicate chemically, exchange nutrients, and even warn of pests or drought through these fragile strands. By directing resources and sugars through this unseen network, older trees, sometimes referred to as mother trees, support their young. There is no metaphor here. Some scientists have dubbed this enormous and intricate biological network the Wood Wide Web. A nearby fir may be supported by a birch tree. The forest may receive the final energy of a dying tree. It is a subtle, highly cooperative kind of intellect that is not conscious. The forest is a single, breathing, sharing community rather than a collection of individuals in this hushed world of roots and fungi. It is possible for tardigrades to live in space. They are known as tardigrades, but many people call them water bears since they are small, odd, and almost unbreakable. Under a microscope, these tiny organisms, which are less than a millimeter long, resemble wrinkly, eight-legged gummy bears. However, don't be fooled by their size. Tardigrades can endure in environments that would kill nearly all other living things. Radiation, crushing pressure, boiling heat, freezing temperatures near absolute zero, and even the vacuum of space. They were sent into orbit by scientists in 2007 and returned alive. What do? By going into a condition known as cryptobiosis. In this state, their metabolism is suspended and they nearly dry themselves out. They simply wait, sometimes for years, without dying, and they wake up again as the water comes back. Even as they float through the stars, tardigrades serve as a reminder that life is more resilient, odd, and tough than we could have ever imagined. Once, oxygen was a poison that killed people. We breathe it in every second of today. However, oxygen used to be the most harmful contaminant on Earth. early microbial life flourished in an oxygen-free environment more than 2 billion years ago. The first living things on the world were these extinct creatures called anaerobes. However, cyanobacteria, which are microscopic photosynthetic organisms, emerged and started to release oxygen as a byproduct. It wasn't much at start. The massive oxidation event, as it is now called, was brought on by the buildup of oxygen in the air and oceans over millions of years. Oxygen was poisonous to several anaerobic organisms. It led to a mass extinction, damaged ancient metabolisms, and corroded cells. Others, however, found a new source of energy in this invisible gas. In the end, it fueled the emergence of multicellular, complex life, including ourselves. Therefore, the memory of a catastrophic extinction is also, in a sense, the air that keeps you alive. Oxygen does more than merely sustain life. With each breath, its history is inscribed. Animals are consumed by certain plants. We frequently think of plants as calm, docile, and green things that silently reach for the sun. However, not all plants are courteous as they wait for nutrition. Some people go hunting. Carnivorous plants that use sweet odors or sticky honey to entice insects, such as the sundew, pitcher plant, and Venus flytrap, then snap or trap them. A Venus flytrap tracks its prey's steps and only closes when it detects many touches. Insects can't get out of the deep, slick wells that pitcher plants create because they are packed with digesting enzymes. Others, like as sundews, resemble sluggish, sticky arms that wrap their prey in tiny tentacles that gleam. Why do they do it? Because they inhabit areas with poor soil quality and limited access to nitrogen. Therefore, they adapt by using patience and ingenious design rather than teeth or claws. These stealthy predators serve as a reminder that there are various ways to survive, and that even the most amiable green leaf may conceal a voracious appetite. Like fingerprints, each leaf is a work of art, with a distinct pattern. A silent miracle can be seen when you hold a leaf up to the light. They're all well-tuned machines. Although delicate to the touch, it is expertly made at the tiny level. At its core is a delicate system of veins that branch out across a landscape like rivers. They support the process of photosynthesis by transporting carbohydrates, minerals, and water to every part of the leaf. To let carbon dioxide in and oxygen out, the surface is speckled with microscopic pores known as stomata valves, which open and close. For almost all living things on Earth, including plants, the green pigment chlorophyll absorbs sunlight and transforms it into energy. Certain leaves are able to follow the sun's path across the sky. Others trap insects, retain heat, or repel water. In terms of form and function, no two are precisely alike. Every leaf is a work of art, delicate, lovely, and purposefully alive. There are oceans that shine at night. Imagine strolling along a peaceful beach at night and witnessing the waves' unsettling blue-green radiance. Bioluminescent plankton, which are microscopic living organisms, are the cause of this genuine occurrence. A flash of cool light is released when they are disturbed by movement, such as the swirl of a swimmer's palm or a smashing wave. It's a chemical process occurring inside their bodies rather than reflected moonlight, the same type of light that fireflies use in the sky. This radiance may illuminate entire shorelines in locations like the Maldives or Mosquito Bay in Puerto Rico, transforming the ocean into a shimmering paradise. Just biology, no magic, no electricity. The waters on Earth have seen numerous evolutions in bioluminescence, utilized for communication as well as camouflage. The sea provides a silent, luminous reminder that life finds a way to shine even in the deepest seas here in the gloomy tide. Your body contains more microorganisms than people. You may feel like you have only one body, one mind, and one person. However, you are actually a whole living community. Microbial cells outnumber human cells in your body. Your skin, mouth, and stomach are home to trillions of bacteria, viruses, fungus, and archaea. We refer to this group as your microbiome. It's not merely following along. It produces vitamins, strengthens your immune system, aids in food digestion, and even affects your mood and behavior. The microbiome is essentially an extension of the intelligence of your body, a huge, unseen collaborator in almost everything you accomplish. While some microorganisms compete with invaders, others defend you. Additionally, your microbiome is exclusively yours, just as no two fingerprints are same. Therefore, keep in mind that you are never really alone the next time you feel lonely. You are a planet inside a world, a walking ecology. Ants are able to use their own bodies to construct bridges. Army ants are always moving over the jungle floor like a living river in South American woods. However, they continue when they come to a gap or an obstruction. Rather, they use themselves to construct bridges. An ant secures herself on a branch. Someone else gets on its back. Then, one after another, until a robust, adaptable living structure is formed. The weight and traffic above them can cause thousands of ants to connect together and adapt in real time. The bridge breaks down when the colony has finished crossing, and the ants resume their march. There is no leader in charge of these living bridges. Rather, they are the result of local choices. Based on contact and instinct, each ant reacts to its neighbors. A magnificent illustration of collective intelligence, and totally living building that changes shape. One body among many, all of them cooperating. The DNA of octopuses can be altered. Shape-shifting, color-shifting, and observing with uncanny alien eyes, the octopus floats in the quiet depths of the water like a dream. It is already among the most intellectual beings on the planet. Even weird, though, is what lays beneath. The molecular instructions that convert DNA into proteins, known as RNA, are editable by octopuses. Most creatures follow their innate genetic code. However, octopuses have the ability to modify the expression of their genes in real time. This implies that individuals may instantly modify their biology, changing how their neurons function, how they perceive their surroundings, or how they react to stress and temperature. They have a great deal of flexibility, but it's not the same as altering their DNA. This adds additional mystery to a creature that already appears to be from another universe, yet we don't fully grasp why or how they do it. Certain animals appear to be self-aware. Although most animals are able to see their mirror, relatively few appear to be aware of it. In nature, self-recognition is uncommon. It's frequently interpreted as an indication of self-awareness and increased consciousness. An animal is marked with an area in the mirror test that it cannot see without a reflection. When they look in the mirror and attempt to touch or investigate the mark, it indicates that they are aware that the image is of them. Only a few species have survived thus far. Elephants, great apes, dolphins, magpies, and perhaps manta rays. Some fish even exhibit mirror awareness. This suggests something extraordinary, that awareness might not be limited to humans, but it does not imply that they possess human-style consciousness. In minds that are extremely different from ours, the spark of self may flicker. Furthermore, the distinction between I and other may not be as obvious as we formerly thought across the tree of life. 5 more extinctions have not destroyed life. Earth's life is incredibly durable and ancient. At least 5 big extinction catastrophes have occurred on our planet in the last 500 million years. Most of the species that were present at the time were exterminated by each of them. The most catastrophic, referred to as the Perrine extinction, wiped out 70% of land species and 90% of marine life. Asteroids, climate change, and volcanoes. Every time life returned and the world changed. Something new, yet not the same life. Ecosystems reformed from the ashes of extinction. New lineages were derived from tiny survivors. It's a subdued illustration of biology's tenacity. Life doesn't simply go on. It changes, adapts, and reimagines itself. We are a part of that story, descended from ancient survivors who, in the face of stillness and darkness, managed to move forward, a thread that remained intact despite disaster. Insect behavior can be controlled by mushrooms, a bizarre drama that conflates the roles of puppet master and plant takes place in the damp shade of a forest. Ants and other insects are infected by some fungi, such as iocortisps, which enter their bodies and brains. The fungus grows inside and releases compounds that change the behavior of the insects. Now controlled by fungi, the ant scales deep into the vegetation and clamps down on a leaf or branch. After then, it ceases. After killing the host, the fungus grows a stalk from the body and spreads its spores to infect others below. It is a precise, gory cycle that has been refined over millions of years. How the fungus so successfully affects the nervous system is still a mystery to scientists. However, even the tiniest organisms have incredible power in this silent battle of life. The forest is not just serene and verdant. There are many hidden tactics in it, some sophisticated and some dreadful. In nature, blue is a rare color. Take in your surroundings, including the sky, the sea, and the glimmering butterfly wings. There is blue everywhere. Despite this, blue is one of the rarest hues found in nature. The majority of blue animals, such as peacocks, morpho butterflies, and blue jays, don't truly have any blue pigment in them. Rather, structure is what gives them their color. Blue wavelengths are reflected by microscopic patterns on their surfaces that bend and scatter light. This optical illusion, known as structural coloration, is created by shape rather than dye. Few living things have been able to produce true blue pigments, which are difficult to do. Every natural blue is therefore a sort of trick, a result of light interacting with even the smallest construction. The next time you see a flash of blue in the wild, keep in mind that it's more than simply color. It's light dancing on the brink of physics and biology. Elephants mourn the deceased. Elephants perform something that very few other creatures are known to accomplish in the midst of the savanna's grasses and dust. They weep. An elephant slows down when it sees the bones of a friend or family member who has passed away. Its trunk brushes against the remnants. It persists. Years later, some have been seen going back to the same location and carefully inspecting the bones once more. Elephants have even been observed guarding the dying, remaining close by, and refusing to go. Even while their pain differs slightly from ours, it is nonetheless quite real. They seem to hold emotional weight, recall former friends, and develop close family ties. The fact that empathy, loss, and love might not be unique to humans is a silent reality that humbles us. Something very old and sweet stirs in the souls of these vast, gentle giants, a realization of the transience of life. Tiny animal architects create coral reefs. Although they are not made of rocks or plants, coral reefs are some of the planet's most vibrant ecosystems. They are constructed by animals. Every coral is a colony of microscopic organisms known as polyps. They capture plankton using their stinging tentacles in order to feed. Additionally, they create the stony skeletons that make up reefs by secreting calcium carbonate, which they use to build their dwellings. These skeletons build together over time to create enormous undersea formations that can extend hundreds of miles. Additionally, life thrives on these reefs. Sea turtles, mollusks, fish, crustaceans, and a myriad of other creatures. Nearly a quarter of all marine life is supported by coral reefs, which make up less than 1% of the ocean floor. They are living cities created by the gradual effort of millions of invisible architects rather than by design. Reefs are a reminder of how much life can emerge from the smallest hands. They are delicate, vibrant, and extremely vulnerable. Without a brain, slime molds can navigate mazes. They resemble something from a science fiction film in appearance and behavior. Single-celled creatures known as slime molds can be found in wet conditions such as dirt and decomposing wood. They can navigate mazes despite lacking a brain and nervous system. A slime mold is placed in a maze with food at 2 exits as part of laboratory research. The most effective route between the 2 places is left behind when the slime spreads out in all directions and then retracts. It doesn't plan or think, but it manages to figure it out somehow. Slime molds have a sort of dispersed intelligence built into their bodies that allows them to explore their surroundings using chemical gradients and feedback. They have even demonstrated unexpected similarities to human systems when used to model transportation networks. It serves as an odd, captivating reminder that there are various types of intelligence. They don't all require brains. Rain falls naturally in the Amazon. Rain is not the only thing that the Amazon rainforest absorbs. It makes it. Through a process known as transpiration, billions of trees release moisture into the atmosphere every day when sunlight heats their canopy. After rising, cooling, and condensing into clouds, this vapor feeds the forest below by falling again as rain. The Amazon produces a large portion of its own weather because to its extensive and effective cycle. This self-sustaining cycle affects weather patterns across the Atlantic and helps control the temperature of an entire continent. The forest is a large breathing system rather than merely a group of trees. Additionally, the cycle weakens, rain decreases, and droughts spread when some of it is destroyed due to fire or deforestation. The Amazon is frequently referred to as the Earth's lens, but it is also the lifeblood of South American skies, supplying the atmosphere with oxygen, moisture, and life. Some frogs can survive when frozen solid. Certain frogs experience one of the most remarkable changes in the animal realm during the frigid silence of winter. They become frozen. Not only slow down, but really solidify. The North American wood frog may endure days or even weeks in a freezing environment. Its heart quits beating, its body stiffens totally, its organs shut down, and its blood freezes to ice. But the frog's cells hold together because of the natural antifreeze substances in its tissues. The frog awakens and hops away as if nothing had occurred as the ice melts and the temperature rises with the arrival of spring. There is no metaphor here. Evolution affects cryogenic survival. These frogs are studied by scientists in an effort to comprehend exceptional biological resilience or to discover how to maintain human organs. They continue to be silent adaptation miracles for the time being. Little amphibians that resist the effects of winter and come back to life, heartbeat after heartbeat. Whales are able to sing over vast oceans. Songs float through the darkness beneath the sea's surface. Blue whale cries are long, sluggish, and eerie, and they can be heard thousands of miles below the surface of the ocean. These low-frequency vocalizations can reverberate from coast to coast in the silent depths and are among the loudest and deepest sounds produced by any animal. Whales employ these melodies for communication, navigation, and mate-finding over long distances. Songs can change over time, transmitted orally, and each population has its unique dialect. Certain species, such as the humpback, produce lengthy, complex tunes that change every year as new phrases are added by other whales. Even though we don't entirely comprehend all they're saying, we know it's important. These sounds aren't just any noise. They are signals from species that have been roaming the oceans for a longer time than any human can recall, and they are exchanged throughout a watery planet. Thousands of years can pass while seeds are latent. Seeds can travel through time. Although they may appear to be simple, lifeless objects, they contain the blueprint for life and occasionally a remarkable amount of patience. While they wait for the ideal time to emerge, some seeds may lie dormant for decades or even centuries. In one amazing instance, a date palm seed discovered in an archaeological site that dates back 2,000 years was successfully replanted in the present era. It had slept through seasons, through stillness, through empires, then woke and grew with warmth and water. Mother seeds can withstand freezing, burning, or being buried under several meters of soil. They have intricate chemistry, protective coatings, and precisely calibrated environmental sensitivity. They start over when the time is right, not earlier. There is a silent assurance that life can wait, persevere, and come back in every seed. The future is contained within a single grain of stillness. Over 40 changes have been made to bioluminescence. The flicker of a deep-sea angler fish's lure, the flutter of plankton in the surf, and the brilliance of fireflies. They are not borrowed lights. Life itself creates them. Throughout the tree of life, bioluminescence, the capacity to generate light through chemical reactions, has independently evolved at least 40 times. Every organism, from fungi to bacteria, from jellyfish to squid, has evolved a unique method of glowing. Some use light to alert predators, while others use it to draw in prey. Some people use it to find partners or to blend into the background. Bioluminescence is ubiquitous in the deep ocean where sunlight never reaches, a constellation of living stars that drifts and flickers. The chemistry is sophisticated. Energy is released as visible light when an enzyme called luciferase interacts with a chemical called luciferin, which produces light. Easy, quiet, and beautiful. Life has repeatedly written a common language of glow in caverns, waves, and the deepest recesses of the dark. Stardust makes up your bones. It's not a poem, it's physics. The basic structure that keeps you upright, the calcium in your bones, was formed in the core of long-gone stars. Nuclear fusion produces elements heavier than helium in the last stages of a giant star's existence. These elements are dispersed throughout space when a star explodes in a supernova. They eventually float into dust and gas clouds, where they mix and settle until gravity draws them back together. Oceans rise, planets form, and eventually life emerges on a single tiny blue planet. Your body gets its calcium, iron, carbon, and oxygen from those old stars. The universe is not all that you live in. You are the pattern-based cosmos with the ability to wonder, breathe, and think. You literally walk on a world molded by time and light, made of stardust. Certain insects have UV vision. You notice color when you look at a flower. It could be blue, crimson, or yellow. But flowers appear entirely different to many insects, particularly bees. This is due to their ability to perceive ultraviolet light, which is a portion of the spectrum that is undetectable to the human eye. The plain-looking petal may appear to them to be blazing with radiant rings, landing guidelines, and luminous patterns that are all intended to guide them to the nectar inside. These patterns are more than just lovely. They are useful and have developed for both parties' advantage. Pollination takes place on the flower. The bee is fed. To move, locate mates, or identify predators, some insects employ UV vision. Even the unassuming cabbage butterfly has a perspective on the world that is beyond our comprehension. Therefore, even if we live on the same planet, our visual worlds are different. We are surrounded by a hidden spectrum that is full of colors and light indicators that we may never fully perceive. Pregnancy in kangaroos can be paused. The power of kangaroos to pause time inside their own bodies is a unique secret that they carry deep within the Australian outback. A mother kangaroo may postpone the development of a fertilized egg if the environment is unfavorable or if a joey is already in the pouch. Her body might wait for the ideal time to continue the pregnancy thanks to this occurrence, known as embryonic diapause. At the same time, she may be caring for one joey outside the womb, one in the pouch, and a third on pause. The embryo continues to develop when nourishment becomes available or the pouch is released. It's a great way to survive in a changing environment. Because of their innate pause button, kangaroos are able to precisely time their reproduction. Being in a land of extremes, nature has endowed them with adaptability and a biological mastery that has been developed throughout time. In the vibrant turmoil of coral reefs, certain fish have the ability to alter their sex. There are certain fish with a startling secret. They are capable of changing from male to female or vice versa, For instance, clownfish adhere to a rigid hierarchy and exist in small social groups. Only the female, who is the largest fish, mates with the dominant male. The male becomes the new matriarch if she passes away. In other species, such as rays, females can change into males, frequently in response to the disappearance of the dominant male. There is more to this shift than just behavior. It's biological. Roles are reversed, hormones change, and organs reorganize. In dynamic situations, it is a natural adaptation that supports reproduction. Identity is not always set in stone in the water. It may change in response to opportunity, necessity, or the tides of chance. And we witness the fluidity of life in these subtle changes. Adaptable, quick to react, and always surprise. Birds use the Earth's magnetic field for navigation. Birds traverse mountains, seas, and even continents for thousands of miles each year, precisely returning to the same breeding locations. What do? Their innate capacity to perceive the Earth's magnetic field is one of their many secrets. Certain birds have microscopic magnetite crystals in their heads or beaks that function as internal compasses. Others may be able to perceive magnetic fields as patterns or visual cues because of certain proteins in their eyes. Together with the sun, stars, and terrain, this magnetic sense, known as magnetoception, helps them find their way. An ancient map engraved into the nervous system, it is a delicate and sophisticated mechanism. We know it works, even though we don't fully comprehend it yet. Birds fly home by sensing the unseen forces that envelop the Earth itself, not only by memory or instinct. The carbon cycle is how the Earth breathes. The carbon cycle is one of the deepest rhythms of the Earth, which is alive in more ways than we frequently know. The steady, interrelated flow of carbon occurs in the air, water, plants, animals, and rocks. Carbon dioxide is released when you exhale. As they develop their leaves, stems, and roots, plants absorb it during photosynthesis. Those plants are eaten by animals. What's left is broken down by decomposers. It is released by volcanoes. It is absorbed by oceans. Some of this carbon stays in the atmosphere, some turns into stone, and some creates fossil fuels. This international trade influences ecosystems, sustains life, and controls the climate. It's a cycle that lasts for eons rather than simply years. And because of human activity, it is currently unbalanced. By comprehending this cycle, we can understand the Earth as breathing, in and out, light and dark, growing and decaying, rather than as static. In space, a living system spins silently. The earliest organisms to construct the Earth's surface were bacteria. They were bacteria before there were plants, animals, or even oxygen. Some of them also constructed buildings that are still in existence today. Around the world, stromatolites are old, rock-like structures that can be found in shallow waters. They are produced by cyanobacteria, which are microorganisms that gradually bind and trap sediments layer by layer. The earliest known fossilized stromatolites are more than 3.5 billion years old. They are some of the earliest indications of life on the planet. By generating oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis, these microbial populations contributed to the formation of the planet's surface and atmosphere. Complex life eventually emerged as a result of that oxygen's transformation of everything. Living stromatolites are still seen today in locations such as Australia's Shark Bay. Silent, odd, and old, they serve as reminders of the first engineers, toolless builders, and eyeless architects. All that followed was the foundation of patient microscopic existence. Dolphins are able to give each other names. Dolphins use a complex language of clicks and whistles to communicate in the glistening blue oceans. However, there's something even more noteworthy. They appear to have names. Early on, each dolphin develops a distinctive signature whistle that serves as a kind of acoustic identification. This whistle is learned and retained by other dolphins, who use it to call out to particular people. It's recognition, not imitation. Similar to how a person might turn when they hear their name, dolphins reacted when researchers played back their own distinctive whistle. This conduct points to a degree of identification and social memory that was previously believed to be specific to humans. Dolphins live in intricate, dynamic communities. The ability to recognize and follow people aids in preserving ties, managing connections, and navigating their ever-changing social environment. Dolphins talk in the deep, and we catch a peek of something incredible in their sounds. Under the waves, the roots of language reverberate. In the past, the Sahara was a verdant paradise. The Sahara is wide, hot, and dry today, resembling a golden sea. It was something else totally not so long ago, though. A large portion of the Sahara was green between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago. It rained frequently. There were rivers. The sun glinted on lakes. The grasslands were populated by wildlife. It was home to giraffes, elephants, crocodiles, and people, as evidenced by the numerous life forms depicted in the cave paintings. The strength of the seasonal monsoons changed throughout this time, which is referred to as the African humid period due to minor changes in Earth's orbit. The rains eventually stopped, and the desert reappeared. However, buried traces of a changed planet, fossilized trees, and old lake beds can be found deep beneath the dunes. There is more to the Sahara than just desert. It is a recollection, a reminder that even the most hostile environments were once lush, verdant, and vibrant, and they may be again in the future. Bees are able to comprehend the idea of zero. They pollinate our planet, are tiny and buzz. However, bees are also capable of something amazing. They appear to comprehend naught. Bees were educated in tests to associate a sweet reward with fewer forms. They successfully selected a blank card, one with no shapes, over cards having one or more shapes. This implies that the abstract notion that none is less than some is understood by bees. This type of numerical thinking has only been shown by a small number of creatures, including parrots, dolphins, and chimps. It's amazing that bees, with their small minds, can do the same. It suggests a type of intellect that is shaped by necessity and evolution rather than being constrained by brain size. Thousands of minds function as one inside a hive. However, there are surprises even in the individual bee. A smart brain, a quiet buzz, a small body, and a large mind. Rivers were reshaped by wolves. In the 1990s, a remarkable event occurred when wolves were brought back into Yellowstone National Park. They changed the entire landscape, not just the deer populations. Vegetation near riverbanks rebounded when grazing animals decreased. Shrubs and trees became higher. The birds came back. Beavers constructed dams. Because the soil was stabilized by the healthier vegetation, erosion was lessened and the flow of water was altered. Rivers became more stable in some areas and became narrower and meandering. A trophic cascade is a phenomena that illustrates how one species can have an impact on an entire ecosystem. Wolves' actions alone had a cascading effect that changed animal populations, streams, and forests. It serves as a potent reminder of how intertwined nature is in ways we frequently overlook. Every creature has a part to perform, whether it be small or large, and the land starts to mend in the cry of a wolf that has returned. The buzz of bees is audible to flowers. Some flowers are listening, even though we typically think of them as passive, colorful, fragrant, and still. Studies have revealed that some plants can react to the buzzing sound of bees. In a matter of minutes, a pollinator's wings vibrating in proximity causes the bloom to release richer nectar. Naturally, the fire lacks ears, but its petals quiver in reaction to sound, functioning as sensory organs that pick up on particular frequencies. This makes it more likely that the plant will provide a better reward. In the presence of a pollinator, precisely. It's a silent conversation. The flower responds to the bee's call. We can better comprehend plant behavior thanks to this sensitive auditory awareness. Plants have the ability to feel, react, and adapt in real time, even in the absence of nerves or brains. There is noise in the garden. There are many subtle humming discussions in it. Lichens are two living things that coexist. Lichens are simple crusty spots of color that cling to the surface of rocks, tree bark, and mountain cliffs. However, there is a startling reality about these silent creatures. They are two or occasionally more life forms rather than just one. A lichen is an alliance between a cyanobacterium or algae and a fungus. The fungus offers shelter and structure. The photosynthetic partner uses sunlight to produce food. Together, they endure in environments too hostile for anyone to handle alone, from arid deserts to the icy tundra. The relationship isn't always kind. Occasionally, the fungus takes control and subdues the algo. Resilience, a hybrid living form that can flourish where few others can, is the end outcome. Ancient, reliable, and vital to many ecosystems, lichens convert rock into soil, produce food, and give shelter. One life, two species. A silent partnership etched into the world's surface. It is possible that water bears outlive all other species. They are unexpectedly adorable, soft, and tiny. However, tardigrades, also referred to as water bears, are some of the most resilient creatures on the planet. They are even more resilient than the surviving space people you have already met on this list. Intense radiation, freezing, boiling, crushing pressure, and complete dehydration are all conditions that tardigrades may withstand. They have been discovered deep beneath solid ice, at the bottom of oceans, and atop mountains. Harsh conditions cause them to curl into a dormant state known as a ton, which basically hits life's pause. They may live for decades or even millennia in this condition. According to some experts, tardigrades may even be able to withstand major extinction events, which are caused by radiation from the sun or asteroids and wipe out larger life forms. They are incredibly prepared, but they are not unbeatable. Small, eternal, and prepared to start over, the water bears waits in the peaceful places of the world. Unlike other mammals, naked mole rats do not age. They are wrinkled, weird, and underground dwellers. However, among the most fascinating mammals in terms of biology are naked mole rats. They appear to defy the typical aging trends, in contrast to most species. As they age, they do not exhibit the usual rise in mortality risk. They have a 30-year lifespan, can withstand low oxygen levels, and are resistant to cancer. An extraordinary amount of time for a mouse. Their cells don't move. Their proteins are resistant to harm. Internally, at least, a 5-year-old mole rat resembles a 25-year-old one quite a little. Like insects, they have a single breeding queen and live in intricate underground colonies. Researchers look for hints about longevity, resistance to cancer, and stress tolerance. These creatures, who are little and soft-skinned but hold secrets that could one day benefit all of us, spend quiet, hidden lives in the dark tunnels beneath the earth. There are trillions of cells in the human body. You are composed of roughly 30 trillion cells, stories, and stardust. Numerous little components go into making each breath, thinking, and heartbeat. Each has a certain role. Cells in muscles contract, neurons fire. Oxygen is delivered by red blood cells, skin cells regenerate, cells in the gut break down food, immune cells protect. These various cells come together to form a single cohesive body, one being composed of numerous parts. However, your body moves a lot as well. Cells are continually being replaced and dying. Every day you rebuild yourself piece by piece. You are dynamic. Your cellular cooperation is a living symphony. Nevertheless, everything still functions in harmony. Millions of cells are silently keeping you whole even as you sleep. You are not a single entity. Underneath your skin, you are a community, a coordination marvel. There are parrots that are smarter than toddlers. They are chatty, lively, and frequently playful. However, parrots are also some of the world's smartest creatures. Research has indicated that certain species, such as the African grey parrot, are able to count, comprehend the ideas of same and different, and even comprehend the concept of zero. Alex, a well-known parrot, acquired the ability to recognize colors, shapes, and quantities. He was able to voice his anger, ask for what he desired, and respond to difficult inquiries. He performed as well as or better than a human toddler in a number of skills. In the wild, parrots also apply their intelligence, utilizing technologies, resolving issues, and interacting with social groupings. Although the anatomy of their brains differs from ours, evolution has discovered a similar route. A parrot is not merely imitating when it speaks, it might be thinking too. Bright minds, bright feathers, and a small bird that may be more intelligent than you realize. More life exists in the ocean than on land. We traverse the terrain. The majority of life on Earth is concealed beneath the waters, yet we dwell beneath the sky. The great majority of all living biomass is found in the ocean, which makes up more than 70% of the planet's surface. Marine life exists in nearly too many forms to list, ranging from dazzling jellyfish to forests of kelp, from the smallest plankton to the greatest whales. Deep pits, open water, and coral reefs. Each promotes a distinct community. Thousands of microscopic organisms can be found in just one drop of seawater. Only a small portion of the deep ocean has been investigated by us. A large portion of it is yet unexplored, enigmatic, and full with unidentified life. There is life in the sea. It is teeming. Below the surface, a vast living world throbbing with song and currents. Blue is the world's greatest wilderness. Quaking trees are the oldest living things on Earth. The oldest known living thing on Earth may be found in a peaceful Utah woodland. It appears to be a group of common trees with quivering leaves rather than ancient. However, they are all related beneath the surface. This is a clonal colony of quaking aspens called pando. As a component of a single root system that may be more than 80,000 years old, every trunk you see is genetically similar. Po does not use seeds for reproduction. Rather, it creates a living forest out of a single tree by sending up new stems from its roots generation after generation. The organism as a whole endures. It has withstood ice ages, storms, and time itself, despite the death and regeneration of individual trunks. A forest that is also a single being, old, silent, and still very much alive, with roots in the ground and a constant upward reach. Certain viruses have advantages. Viruses typically conjure images of disease. However, not every virus is dangerous. Some are crucial to the development of life, evolution, and even human health. In order to preserve the microbial balance, certain viruses target dangerous bacteria in the human gut. Others assist cells cope with stress, modify gene expression, or introduce beneficial DNA into our genomes. Indeed, ancient viral DNA that has been passed down over millions of years makes up around 8% of the human genome. Since they play a role in everything from brain development to reproduction, several of these viral genes are now essential to human biology. Viruses are more than simply intruders. They have a role in both the past and the future of life, little strands that are interwoven with our identity. Sometimes they are allies as well as threats. Trees are not as old as sharks on Earth. Sharks are frequently viewed as sleek, swift, and menacing modern predators. However, their ancestry is older than it seems. For more than 400 million years, sharks have been around. In contrast, trees didn't exist until about 350 million years ago. This indicates that before a single leaf shaded the land, sharks were swimming in the oceans of Earth. Including the one that took off the dinosaurs, they have survived 5 great extinctions. Their effectiveness and adaptability are demonstrated by the fact that their basic body layout hasn't changed much throughout time. From gentle whale sharks to hammerheads and deep-sea lantern sharks, there are hundreds of different types of sharks in the modern world. All, however, have the imprint of ancient times, an almost unthinkably ancient lineage. Every glide over the sea is a silent, steady, and eternal action molded by eons. clouds form on their own in rainforests. The weather is not the only factor that shapes rainforests. They contribute to its creation. Via a process known as transpiration, trees extract water from the soil and release it via their leaves each day. As it ascends into the atmosphere, this moisture condenses into clouds. This continuous water cycle sustains rainfall not only locally, but also over huge regions in places like the Amazon. The forest sustains its own climate when it is in good health. However, the impact of losing trees is significant. There will be fewer clouds and, subsequently, less rain when there is less moisture. There may come a time when the forest can no longer support itself. There is more to rainforests than just passive scenery. They are the atmosphere's motors, releasing life, clouds, and mist. Standing beneath the canopy is like being in a continent's lungs. Some crabs use live sponges to adorn themselves. One small critter engages in a subtle form of camouflage with a twist in the coastal shallows. Decorator crabs become a part of their surroundings rather than merely blending in. Using hooked hairs, they gently pick up pieces of sponges, seaweed, and algae and adhere them to their shells. Life sponges, which develop as the crab moves, are even placed on the backs of some of them. This has several uses, including evading predators, imitating the environment, and occasionally even obtaining chemical protection. The crab may become less palatable if the sponge releases toxins or disagreeable flavors. It's a partnership, yet not quite symbiosis. A moving reef is a species that continually adapts to stay invisible by dressing up like its habitat. Disguise turns into art on the calm seas. Insects are billions of times more numerous than humans. Insects rule the earth. There are an estimated 200 million insects for every human on the planet. Every ecology is home to them. From desert sands to ocean coasts, from cold tundra to jungle canopy, almost 25% of all known animal species are beetles alone. Insects provide food for innumerable other animals, pollinate crops, recycle nutrients, and decompose garbage. They have survived every extinction event and have been here for more than 400 million years. People can live for minutes or years. They go so far as to create cities and fight battles. Their modifications are limitless, and their communities can be intricate. Despite their modest size, they have a powerful influence on the world that most of us are unaware of. The insects were here first, and will probably remain long after we are gone, even if we may think we are in control of the earth. To mate, birds of paradise engage in intricate dances. The unfathomable beauty of birds of paradise can be found deep within the jungles of New Guinea and neighboring islands. Velvet blacks, flaming oranges, and brilliant blues shine on feathers. Some develop streamer-like plumes. Others bounce on long tail wires or unroll fans, but appearances aren't everything. These birds dance in intricate ways. Every species has a unique dance. They make clicks, whistles, and flutters as they precisely hop, twirl, bow, and pose. From above, females select partners based on their performance. Some of the most ostentatious features in the animal kingdom have evolved as a result of this strong selection. A silent tale of perseverance, showmanship, and the unbridled inventiveness of life lies behind each dance. We catch a peek of nature's love of spectacle and evolution's penchant for the spectacular in these courtship rituals. Silk is stronger than steel and is used by spiders. Spiders spin something amazing in the silent nooks and crannies of garden gates, trees, and attics. One of nature's strongest materials is the silk that is extracted from their bodies in long, delicate strands. Spider silk is much more flexible and stronger than steel when weighed side by side. It can absorb vast amounts of energy, stretch without breaking, and construct intricate structures like egg sacs, webs, and nets. Proteins are organized in tiny patterns to create each thread, which is meticulously put together. Each type of silk produced by various spiders has a specific function and can be sticky, smooth, rough, or soft. Some can even glide through the air or spin silk while submerged. Spider silk is being researched by scientists for applications in lightweight engineering, bulletproof materials, and medical sutures. For the time being, however, the spider quietly spins, working its magic from within, one silken thread at a time. Fireflies communicate with one another through light. Tiny bursts of light illuminate the blackness on warm summer evenings. Fireflies, sometimes referred to as lightning bugs, use bioluminescent signals, blinking patterns that differ depending on the species, location, and even gender, to communicate. Males flash particular beats as they fly through the air. Timed responses from the trees or grass are given by females. It's a light-hearted wooing exchange. While some creatures blink quickly, others blink slowly. Some give off a continuous, gentle glow. Fireflies generate this chilly, blazing light inside their abdomen by combining substances like oxygen and luciferin. This process doesn't generate any heat. It's one of the most peaceful and captivating discussions in nature. However, firefighters also alert predators with their light. Some species are moderately poisonous or have a harsh taste. Their radiance, a living language of flashes that dances through the darkness, is both beautiful and signal. Some monkeys cure by using medicinal plants. Certain monkeys in South American and African woods do more than just consume plants. They take them as medicine. When ill or injured, researchers have seen chimpanzees and other primates purposefully seek out bitter, non-nutritive plants. They rub particular compounds onto their skin, chew the pith of particular stems, or ingest tough leaves whole. Antibacterial, antifungal, or antiparasitic substances are found in many of these plants. For instance, when chimpanzees have intestinal parasites, they frequently consume bitter leaves to help get rid of the worms. They only eat these plants when symptoms start to show. This practice is referred to as animal self-medication or zoo pharmacology. It casts doubt on the notion that only people employ therapeutic solutions. It could be inherited instinctively or both. However, it exposes a secret intelligence. Some animals already know how to employ the pharmacy weights that have been gained by the branches and leaves. The majority of the oxygen you breathe is produced by algae. Every breath you inhale is a gift from the ocean, not simply trees. Similar to plants, tiny creatures known as phytoplankton that float close to the sea's surface carry out photosynthesis. They release oxygen, absorb carbon dioxide, and absorb sunlight. More than half of the oxygen that humans breathe is produced by these microscopic algae. They serve as the unseen base of marine food systems, sustaining everything from whales to krill. However, they play an equally important part in the mood. Without them, the climate would shift along with the air's gas balance. Phytoplankton is extremely sensitive to changes in the water and reacts to temperature, currents, and nutrients. Although they are not visible from land, they are present everywhere, a glistening cloud below the surf. Remember that the ocean is breathing beside you with every exhale. Crows are able to make plans. Crews go about their days with extraordinary foresight and purpose, even in the quiet nooks of cities and forests. These birds, who belong to the corvid family, have been seen trading for rewards, concealing food in safe locations, and storing equipment for later use. Crows have been shown in trials to forego a good food in favor of a tastier one later. They have demonstrated an awareness of cause and consequence, bent wires into hooks, and fished for food using sticks. Some people harbor resentment for years and can even recall the faces of those who have harmed them. Despite having far smaller brains than large apes, they are just as intelligent. Crows, in contrast to many other animals, appear to plan ahead rather than just react automatically. They observe, learn, remember, solve problems, have calm minds under feathery coats, and are planners. Snakes' faces can detect heat. Light is not the end of sight for certain snakes. They are also able to perceive heat. Boas, pythons, and pit vipers all have unique organs called pit receptors, which are tiny facial apertures that can sense infrared light. Because of this, even in complete darkness, they can detect the body heat of warm-blooded prey. Their perception of the image differs from that of humans. A luminous silhouette of warm shapes on a cooler background is more akin to a thermal map. When hunting at night, this ability gives snakes a significant advantage by enabling them to strike with startling accuracy. It's physics applied to biology, not magic. It's like having a sixth sense, according to some scientists. Heat, not light, is how the world is perceived. It serves as a reminder that each species navigates its own reality, molded by the resources provided by evolution and by the necessities for survival. All at once, the Arctic tundra blooms. The Arctic tundra lies dormant under ice, wind, and stillness for the majority of the year, but all changes when the short, brilliant, and urgent summer arrives. Frozen soil softens after a few days. The ground bursts into a sudden, spectacular bloom of flowers, mosses, and grasses while the sun remains in the sky for almost the whole day. This is not a slow awakening. It's a riot of color, fragrance, and vitality. Pollinators hum. Birds go back to their nests. Mammals raise their young and forage. It must all take place in a little period of time, possibly as little as 8 weeks before winter arrives. The energy explosion reverberates across the food chain. Despite its harshness and stillness, the tundra is able to grasp the moment. And life follows the sun in this age-old pattern of silence and blossom. Ants can become zombies due to a fungus. A silent and unsettling metamorphosis takes place deep within tropical woods. Ants are infected with Cordyceps unilateralis, a parasitic fungus that controls their behavior. After entering, the fungus travels throughout the ant's body before arriving at its brain. The ant is forced to leave its colony, climb a plant stem, and clamp onto a leaf or twig while it is still living. It dies there, and the fungus keeps growing. Spores are released into the air to infect others when a stalk explodes from the back of the ant's head. It is a genuine biological tactic that has been refined over millions of years. It is not science fiction. It's a startling illustration of how profoundly evolution can influence behavior despite being frightening. Yes, there is beauty in the forest, but there is also a more sinister elegance. And sometimes the greatest terrifying force comes from the smallest organisms. The bodies of sea cucumbers have the ability to liquefy. Although they may appear to be nothing more than a squishy, sausage-shaped organism resting on the ocean floor, sea cucumbers are incredibly powerful. It has the ability to change into a liquid. A sea cucumber may change the stiffness of its body by rearranging the proteins in its connective tissue when it is in danger or is negotiating confined places. It transforms from solid and strong to almost jelly-like in a matter of seconds, oozing into fissures and fractures for protection. It can then stiffen up again in the same amount of time. As a defensive tactic, some species can even evacuate sections of their internal organs, which they can subsequently regenerate. Shape-shifting without bones, muscles, or conscious effort is a unique survival tactic, quiet, gentle, and oddly enchanted. Sea cucumbers dissolve and reform like water in the shape of life as they glide in the gentle rhythm of the sea. Antifreeze is ingrained in ice fish. Most animals would freeze solid in the Antarctic's frigid seas. The ice fish, however, doesn't. Antifreeze is its secret. The blood of ice fish has developed unique proteins that stop ice crystals from forming. As a biological barrier against the cold, these antifreeze proteins attach to microscopic ice particles and prevent them from developing. Other peculiar adaptations are also seen in ice fish. Their blood is colorless, nearly translucent, due to their absence of hemoglobin and red blood cells. Rather, oxygen is carried throughout their bodies by dissolving straight into their blood plasma. They survive in temperatures that would kill the majority of other vertebrates by moving cautiously and slowly through icy waters. Their peculiar biochemistry provides insight into how life adjusts to harsh environments. The ice fish, cold-hearted, soft-blooded and completely unique, swims in the silence beneath Antarctic ice. Termites use natural air conditioning to construct their mounds. Although a termite mound appears to be nothing more than a heap of dirt from the outside, it is actually a wonder of natural engineering. An insect-built metropolis. Millions of termites are housed in intricate tiered networks of chambers and tunnels within some mounds that are more than 30 feet tall. The ventilation, however, is what's most amazing. Termites use convection currents to control air movement and temperature in their mounds. Cooler air is taken in from below, while warmer air rises and leaves through vents. Even when the outside temperature fluctuates greatly, this passive air conditioner keeps the interior temperature steady. Only intuition, iteration, and collaboration. No architects, no designs. Without the use of instruments or technology, it is a natural method of climate regulation. Insects have constructed structures that are comparable to our own in the dirt beneath our feet. Quiet, effective, and exquisitely modified. Blood can be squirted from the eyes of certain reptiles. It's true, even though it sounds like a legend. Parts of North America are home to the horned lizard, which possesses an odd and striking defense mechanism. Its eyes have the ability to shoot blood. The lizard raises the pressure in tiny blood vessels close to its eyes until they burst when it feels threatened by predators, particularly dogs. Sometimes up to several feet, a thin stream of blood laced with vile substances pours out. Attackers are frequently confused or repelled by this abrupt, shocking outburst, which allows the lizard to flee. The vessels mend rapidly, and the lizard is not harmed. Despite its severe appearance, this is only one of many odd adaptations that animals have developed to survive. Even a drop of blood can serve as a barrier in a world full with danger. The horned lizard, which is little, armored, and unexpected, serves as a reminder that nature is always coming up with new ideas. The deep ocean is where life first appeared. Life began in the dark, long before there were woods, fish, bones, or eyes. Mineral-rich water was sprayed into the surrounding sea by hydrothermal vents deep within the ancient oceans of Earth. Extreme heat, crushing pressure, and complete lack of sunshine were all present around these vents. Nevertheless, life managed to establish itself. Simple single-celled organisms without nuclei that used chemicals instead of light were the earliest living things. Chemosynthesis is a process that may have been the earliest type of metabolism. Strange, resilient life still exists in these deep-sea habitats. Clams, tube worms, and dark-dwelling microorganisms that love heat. According to some scientists, comparable occurrences could occur on other ocean worlds, such as Europa or Enceladus. If that's the case, life may start similarly. The deepest regions of the ocean may be its oldest cradles, far from starlight, born in the warm breath of stone. The arms of starfish can grow back. A starfish slowly moves across the seafloor beneath the tide, quiet, serene, and incredibly weird. It doesn't freak out if a predator takes one of its arms. It grows back. Starfish are regeneration experts. As long as a portion of the central disc is still there, certain animals are able to reconstruct their entire body from a single severed limb, not just one arm. Decentralized nerves and a special network of stem cells enable this ability. The starfish has a network of tubes and a nerve ring that allow it to move and sense its surroundings, but no brain. It rewrites its own body as it grows patiently and slowly. To learn more about wound healing and regeneration in humans and other species, scientists examine starfish. The starfish silently conveys the message that life may rebuild itself, one fragment at a time, and that healing is possible in the calm of the reef. Platypuses produce milk, yet lay eggs. The platypus is one of the most unusual animals on Earth. It possesses an otter's webbed feet, a duck's bill, and a beaver's tail. Although it feeds its young with milk like a mammal, it lays eggs like a reptile. One of only 5 monotremes, mammals that lay eggs rather than give birth, is this odd critter. There are no nipples on platypuses. Rather, the infants lap milk from the mother's fur after it percolates via pores in their skin. The hind legs of males are covered in poisonous spikes. They use electroreception in their bills to pick up the weak electrical impulses of their prey while hunting underwater with their eyes closed. By its very nature, the platypus appears to be a paradox or a comedy, but it is real. A living remnant of a long-gone ancestry, paddling through the streams of Australia, gentle, reticent, and incredibly strange. Echoes are how bats see in the dark. Bats take to the skies when night falls and everything is silent, using sound rather than sight to navigate. Bats use echolocation, which involves making high-frequency cries that reflect off of nearby objects. They can ascertain the size, shape, distance, and even texture of their surroundings by listening to the echoes. With just this audio map, some people can capture a mosquito in mid-air. They can fly through thick forests, between branches, or even through slits no larger than their wingspan because their calls are so accurate. Although not all bats employ echolocation, those that do are some of the most proficient hunters and flyers in the natural world. We perceive darkness differently than they do. They can hear space, and the night comes to life with shape, rhythm, and movement in that unseen realm of echoes and flutters. Before they break, Venus flytraps count. A silent predator lurks in the sunny, moist wetlands of the corollas. Though it doesn't move very often, the Venus flytrap moves deliberately when it does. Its leaves have delicate trigger hairs and resemble open jaws. Nothing happens when an insect touches a single hair. Snap after touching 2 hairs, or the same one again in around 20 seconds. In a split second, the trap shuts. What caused the wait? Due to the fact that counting helps prevent false alerts caused by falling debris or precipitation. The trap will only be activated by the motions of an actual active prey. After closing, the fly trap tightly shuts, allowing the insect to be digested over a period of days. Then it opens once more, prepared for the next guest. It is perceiving, timing, and reacting, but it is not thinking. A motion measuring plant that takes action. Penguins use pebbles to pop the question. Love takes on a silent and peculiar form on the rocky beaches of Antarctica. Many penguin species, particularly Adali and Gentoo, start a delicate wooing with a pebble as a simple present when it's time to mate. With a slight bow or presenting gesture, the male shows the female the smooth round stone he has meticulously searched for. If she agrees, she puts it in her nest, and the two start constructing their house piece by piece. These nests preserve eggs high above the chilly ground and shield them from snowmelt. Penguins will occasionally steal stones from their neighbors' nests, since the best pebbles are highly sought after. However, the donation is frequently genuine, a gift, a gesture, or a start. The clink of stone against stone, rather than song or fragrance, is how love communicates in the frigid silence of the South. While flying, certain birds are able to fall asleep. Some birds have developed the amazing ability to sleep on the wing, high above the seas where there is nowhere else to rest. Animals that can glide over great distances for days or even weeks without ever landing include the alpine swift and the frigate bird. They sleep with only half of their brain active at a time, a process known as unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, in order to endure such voyages. While one side of the brain sleeps, the other remains awake enough to direct flight and steer clear of danger. They even alternately keep their eyes open. Although it's not deep sleep, it's sufficient. Cradled by the wind, they float in and out of consciousness as they soar above the sea. Nature has managed to strike a delicate balance between alertness and submission, allowing motion and repose to coexist. And some dreams are carried on wings in the silent sky. Electrical sparks are small and power the human brain. Your brain is a silent fire that burns behind your thoughts and beneath your fantasies. Every thought, memory, and emotion starts as a spark that jumps between neurons in the dark, an electrical transmission. There are about 86 billion of these cells in your brain, and each one connects to thousands of others to form a complex network of communication. These microscopic impulses flow through axons, cross synapses, and cascade into patterns that eventually manifest as emotions, words, and choices. Like in a wire, it is not electricity. It is biological, driven by chemical gradients, and moves through ion channels. The end effect is an ever-evolving, ever-changing cyclone of light and thinking. Your brain is pumping beneath your skull with low rhythms, even while you are deep asleep. You are propelled by sparks, little flickers that create consciousness, rather than cables or gears. It is possible for cuttlefish to vanish in plain sight. Cuttlefish are masters of vanishing. With a quick shift in skin color, texture, and pattern, these soft-bodied cephalopods can blend in seamlessly with coral, rocks, or sand. To do this, they employ specialized cells known as chromatophores, iridophores, and leucophores, which expand and contract to produce optical effects and changing hues. The fact that cuttlefish are colorblind is even more amazing. Despite their inability to detect color like humans, they are able to match their surroundings with remarkable accuracy. According to some experts, they employ polarization, contrast, and brightness to direct their camouflage. In addition to mimicking color, cuttlefish can also mimic texture by flattening their skin or elevating lumps to match the surface they are resting on. It's not merely for concealment, it is used for play, hunting, and communication. One creature, countless disguises, a living painting that changes with each breath. Coral reproduction is regulated by the moon. Under the light of a full moon on several nights of the year, coral reefs start to glow, not with light, but with life. In a coordinated spawning event, corals across entire reefs simultaneously release their sperm and eggs into the water. Timed to the lunar cycle and frequently occurring only once a year, this occurs with amazing accuracy. The corals cooperate in response to the moon's gravity, light, and rhythm, which raises the likelihood of fertilization in the wide ocean. For a moment, the ocean is teeming with floating life, a blizzard of fresh starts. One of nature's most amazing reproductive phenomena is coral spawning. These animals dance to the beat of the stars even though they are motionless. Life responds to the moon's call in the silent reef. Frogs swallow with their eyes. Despite without chewing, frogs have an even more bizarre method to consume their food. They blinked. A frog uses more than just its neck muscles to swallow, as it catches prey with its sticky tongue and drags it into its mouth. It literally sinks its eyeballs into its skull by pulling them downward. The food is pushed into the throat by this motion, which presses against the roof of the mouth. Sometimes you can see it happen. A slow blink, a light squeeze, and the food is gone. It's the ideal illustration of how evolution makes use of what is available. Just a creative use of what's currently available, no additional tools needed. Even sight plays a role in frog digestion. It is more than just a blink. An odd shove behind the eyes, silent and strange. Warnings can be sent through the air by plants. For instance, a plant does not suffer in silence when it is attacked by a hungry caterpillar. It issues a warning. Some plants warn other plants that danger is approaching by releasing volatile compounds into the atmosphere. By creating poisons, unpleasant substances, or even toughening their leaves, these neighbors may subsequently strengthen their defenses. In the realm of plants, it's a form of chemical dialogue that is subtle and imperceptible to us. Even precise messages are possible. Depending on whether it is being nibbled by an insect or attacked by a fungus, a tomato plant may emit distinct signals. According to some scientists, this airborne messaging evolved to increase the chances of survival for offspring that are related to the parent plant. Therefore, keep in mind that it's not quiet the next time you stroll through a garden or woodland. Information is buzzing through it, root to root, leaf to leaf. For millennia, certain trees are able to replicate themselves. A tree grows and grows and grows in a grove, someplace in the high mountains of Scandinavia or Utah, but not in the manner we typically think of. Certain tree species, such as quaking aspens, are capable of self-replication by cloning. One tree's subsurface roots give rise to new stems on the surface. Although each new trunk could seem like a distinct tree, they are all genetically related to the same creature. Poe is one such clonal colony that is thought to be older than 80,000 years. Thus, it started to grow while woolly mammoths were still on the planet. The root system endures, promoting new development year after year, century after century, even in the event that individual trunks die. Ancient, silent, and spanning generations, the forest is also a single entity. Life persists and time takes root in this unseen tenacity. Natural soil engineers are earthworms. Earthworms are working diligently beneath your feet in the moist, dark soil. Despite their seeming simplicity, blindness, silence, and slowness, they are vital in forming our surroundings. Earthworms aerate the soil as they tunnel, making room for roots to spread out and for air and water to flow. They consume decomposing organic debris, break it down, and then release the nutrient-rich castings back into the earth. The foundation of farms, forests, and food chains is healthy soil, which is created by this process. Additionally, when they move, soil layers are mixed, redistributing organic matter and minerals. It may be questioned if many other animals have contributed so much to world history, according to Charles Darwin. Earthworms, silent, industrious, and invisible, are the creators of life itself. They mold the earth under our feet in every garden, meadow, and forest. Giraffes get less than 2 hours of sleep per day. Giraffes appear nearly too tall to sleep, and in a sense they are, towering over the savanna. These gentle giants often sleep in small bursts, ranging from 30 minutes to 2 hours each day. Although they occasionally lie down for brief deep sleep phases, they mostly sleep standing up, folding their long necks back into a bow. How come you don't get enough sleep? They have evolved to remain vigilant even while they are at rest because their height and slowness make them susceptible to predators. In a group, one person usually keeps watch. Giraffes continue to be lively, inquisitive, and socially sophisticated creatures in spite of very little sleep. Although their biology appears to be perfectly adapted for life in open environments, scientists are still unsure of how they manage to survive on so little sleep. The giraffe briefly dreams under the sky as lions and hyenas roam around. Plastic can be consumed by microbes. Plastic, which we originally assumed would endure forever, might not be as durable as we thought. Microbes that can degrade specific kinds of plastic have been found by scientists in recent years. Polyethylene terephthalate, PET, a common polymer in bottles and packaging, can be broken down by enzymes produced by certain bacteria and fungi. They convert synthetic waste into simpler chemicals that they can absorb, and they do so efficiently, albeit slowly. These microorganisms have been discovered in soil, landfills, and even insect guts. The finding raises the prospect of more environmentally friendly solutions to the plastic pollution problem. For large-scale recycling, engineers are now researching ways to improve or duplicate these enzymes. It's a start, but it won't solve all of our waste issues. Life is adapting, finding new niches, new food sources, and new ways to survive despite the disaster we've created. As the seasons change, so do the colors of Arctic foxes. The Arctic fox stealthily traverses snow and stone in the frigid northern regions of the Earth. Its fur, a natural garment that alternates between survival and invisibility, fluctuates with the seasons. The fox's coat turns a brilliant white in the winter and bends flawlessly in the snow and ice. It camouflages with tundra grasses and boulders as it molts to a brown or grayish coat in the summer. This trait enables it to elude predators and ambush prey, including lemmings and birds. Additionally, the Arctic fox's exceptionally thick fur protects it from some of the world's coldest temperatures, which can drop as low as -50 degrees Celsius. Even the soles of its feet acquire fur. It transforms into the terrain it walks on season after season. A fur-clad shapeshifter who was aware of the world's turning. Alien life abounds in the deep water. There is a realm that feels more like science fiction than Earth, hidden beneath the bright surface, well beyond the reach of light. There are animals in the deep water that are unlike anything on Earth, despite its cold, darkness, and pressure. There are glowing jellyfish, translucent predators, spindly crabs that walk like machines, and fish with lanterns on their heads. Some are able to survive by consuming the chemicals released by hydrothermal vents. Others, slow and bioluminescent, float in eternal twilight. These animals must endure freezing temperatures and crushing pressure. Nevertheless, they prosper, due to the absence of light. Many have developed odd proportions, unusual features, huge mouths, or even the ability to disappear. Only a small portion of the deep ocean has been investigated by us. However, what we've witnessed is breathtaking. A foreign world beneath our own. Large, silent, and teeming with life that lurks in the shadows. Some birds hunt with tools. We frequently think of humans or primates using tools. However, some birds in the wild are equally as intelligent. To get insects out of cracks, crows, ravens, and particularly New Caledonian crows have been seen forming sticks, leaves, and even hawks. They're not alone, though. Green herons lure fish within striking distance by dropping tiny things onto the water's surface. In the Galapagos, woodpecker finches use twigs as if they were tweezers. Additionally, Egyptian vultures crack open ostrich eggs using rocks. These are not merely tool-finding birds. They select them with care, alter them, and use them in ways that are relevant to particular problems. Knowledge is passed down through generations when young birds observe their elders. It involves fixing problems. It's an invention. Furthermore, it serves as a gentle reminder that intelligence is not confined to the hands. It is also able to fly on wings. Without water, camels may live for weeks. Camels, unhurried, unshaken, and rarely thirsty, travel methodically across sand and sun, across the arid deserts of Africa and the Middle East. When water is available, they can drink more than 30 gallons in a few minutes, yet they can go weeks without drinking. However, camels do not store water in their humps, despite what many people think. They keep fat in reserve. In addition to providing energy, this fat breaks down to provide some water as a byproduct. Camels also retain moisture through dry feces, effective kidneys, and a body temperature that changes to minimize perspiration. Their blood cells have a special structure that allows them to flow freely even when they are dehydrated. The camel is built with endurance in mind, long eyelashes to keep sand out, thick lips for consuming prickly herbs, broad feet for walking across sand dunes. They are more than just survivors. Scarcity is their specialty. Before hatching, baby chicks converse with their mums. A chick starts making gentle, repetitive chirps from inside the egg long before it emerges from its shell. There's more to these calls than noise. They participate in an early discussion. In response to these chirps, mother hens change their behavior, occasionally rotating the eggs and other times clucking quietly. Coordinating hatching times is made easier by the ability of even unhatched siblings to respond to one another. By strengthening ties and coordinating development, this gentle interaction helps the chick get ready for life outside the egg. According to some experts, this communication during pregnancy enhances survival by directing social behavior and even respiratory patterns. As it happens, the egg is not silent. Tiny voices whispering their coming fill it with life. Before the first break of the shell, there was a call, a breath, and a heartbeat. Certain insects can withstand freezing temperatures. For little animals, winter is harsh, yet several insects have adapted to withstand the harsh weather. Some species can withstand total freezing, such as the goldenrod gly and the Arctic woolly bear moth. They create unique chemicals called cryoprotectants, such as glycerol, which stop ice crystals from developing inside their cells. Even when the insect's body temperature falls below freezing, these substances maintain tissues by acting as a natural antifreeze. Their metabolism slows to almost nothing while they are frozen. They stay alive even though they cannot move, eat, or grow. They thaw out and continue as if nothing had occurred when spring returns and the temperature rises. It's suspended animation, not dormancy. It's also among the most amazing survival techniques nature has ever created. Life softly moves ahead, one molecule at a time, under the silence of the ice. Under their coats, polar bears have black skin. Despite their snowy, icy, and frigid appearance, polar bears have a secret hidden beneath their thick coat. They have dark skin. The Arctic's harsh environment benefits greatly from the black surface's ability to absorb and hold onto solar heat. Despite its white appearance, their fur is actually translucent. Light is dispersed by each hair, creating the illusion of whiteness while letting sunshine reach the skin beneath. This multi-layered design provides warmth and camouflage. Being proficient swimmers and hunters, polar bears depend on sea ice to get to seals and other prey. Their paws have tiny ridges for traction and are broad and big for stability on snow. And beneath it all, their skin absorbs all the warmth that the surroundings have to provide. Not only is it gorgeous, but it was cleverly designed to survive in a freezing environment. Jellyfish are capable of self-cloning. They are silent, sluggish, and ethereal, floating like ghosts. Jellyfish, however, are more than just drifters. Particularly in their early phases of life, certain organisms are capable of self-cloning. A baby jellyfish known as a polyp has the ability to regenerate into several individuals if it is hurt or split apart. On occasion, even mature jellyfish can butt off young jellyfish from body parts. Reproduction in the conventional sense is not exactly what it is. Their structure is based on replication, which is a sort of biological reset. This capability extends even beyond for the immortal jellyfish Turritopsis doni, enabling it to return to its juvenile state and begin its life cycle over. Jellyfish float between death and rebirth in the changing tides, gentle, timeless, and incredibly patient. And through reproduction, reimagining, and the soft pulsation of the water, life continues in their silent beat. The human body emits a very slight glow. You don't realize how bright you are. The human body glows faintly, a type of bioluminescence that is undetectable to the unaided eye, like many other living things. This light is not the same as the glow of deep-sea life or fireflies. It is brought on by microscopic metabolic events that take place in our cells when free radicals interact with proteins and lipids. Photons, which are tiny light pulses, are released as a result. Scientists have recorded this glow using extremely sensitive cameras, showing that it varies across the day and peaks in the late afternoon. Probably as a result of increased metabolic activity, our faces tend to emit the most. Approximately 1,000 times weaker than what human eyes can detect, it is extremely dim. But it's there, faintly glimmering in the shadows. Even while you sleep, your body is not completely motionless. It makes a humming sound. It has breath. It does glow too. There are fish that can walk on land. The distinction between shore and sea is not as clear-cut as it appears. The capacity to leave the water and travel across land has evolved in a number of fish species. For instance, the mud skipper can walk on mud flats and even climb trees to its powerful pectoral fins. It breathes through the lining of its mouth and skin, keeping itself moist so that oxygen may be absorbed. The Southeast Asian native climbing perch can live for hours or even days without water by inhaling air directly and moving only a small distance on land by crawling. In order to locate new streams at night, some eels have been observed slithering across damp grass. These aquatic achievements are more than simply oddities. They serve as evolutionary bridges, hinting at the ancient sea-to-land transition of vertebrates. Life reaches its limits on the brink of earth and sea. one stride at a time, one breath, one fin. Fire ants construct their own bodies into floating rafts. Fire ants are not alarmed when floods ravage their habitats. They gather, legs and mandibles clutching to one another. Living rafts made of thousands of ants float on water, a densely woven waterproof structure that can transport the colony, queen, larvae and ore to safety is formed by each ant holding onto the one before it. The raft is buoyant but bendable. They float because of the trapped air between their bodies. Additionally, the raft adjusts to the flow of water by shifting and reforming whenever it is disturbed. There is no leader in charge of this construction. It arises from the basic guidelines that each ant abides by. Collective resilience is the result of local decisions. These live rafts have a week-long lifespan. They are more than only survival strategies. They are living devices. A delicate species transforms into a single floating organism in the chaos of floodwaters, one that is composed, peaceful, and inexorable. There are thousands of creatures in a drop of seawater. You are touching a vast, invisible universe when you dip your fingers into the water. Thousands or even millions of minute organisms can be found in a single drop of seawater. A rich, swirling soup of bacteria, viruses, larvae, algae, tiny plankton, and more drifts together. A lot of them have transparent, jeweled, or alien sculpture-like shapes. There are some that illuminate at night. Others serve as the foundation of the marine food chain, supporting everything from whales to coral reefs. These microscopic organisms are vital to the planet's carbon cycle, oxygen production, and even climate management. Though we seldom ever see them, they are constantly present, whether they are lurking in the depths, moving with the tides, or growing in number in the sunlight. A world, a drop of water. It turns out that galaxies make up the ocean. Boiling acid pools are conducive to life. Life persists in the harsh environments of volcanic springs, where temperatures are high and acid is sizzling. Extriophiles are bacteria that flourish in environments that are lethal to most other organisms, such as the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia or the hot springs of Yellowstone. Some can withstand temperatures over boiling. Others can endure at pH values comparable to those of battery acid. They get their energy from sulfur, iron, or other minerals and use chemosynthesis instead of photosynthesis. Their cells include proteins and membranes that are specifically designed for the job, preventing damage from heat and acid. These microorganisms might be similar to the first life on Earth and possibly to the type of life we might eventually discover on other worlds. Life not only survives, but thrives in the most hostile environments. Fire gives it a stronghold. It tells us in a whisper, wherever conditions allow, life will try. Plants are able to calculate their chances of surviving the night. Plants use maths to carefully manage their energy stores as darkness falls and photosynthesis ceases. They use sunlight to create sugars during the day, which they then store as starch. They digest that starch at night in order to survive. Here's the trick, though. They modify their rate of consumption by dividing the quantity of stored energy by the number of hours till dawn. They run out early if they move too quickly. If it is too slow, energy is wasted. Plants can survive on fewer resources thanks to their capacity to divide precisely biologically using molecular cues rather than numbers. It's remarkably accurate, but it lacks consciousness. Every night, without eyes or consciousness, a plant forms a plan, and a silent calculation takes place inside each leaf, because life thinks, even when you're asleep. Owls don't make noise while they fly. The air doesn't move when an owl flies through the night. Its almost silent flight is the result of millions of years of honed stealth. The wings hold the secret. Owls are distinguished by their distinctive feather structure, velvety covering that reduces noise, and soft-edged primaries that break up turbulence. Their feather spacing is even adjusted to minimize noise. They are able to hunt with remarkable accuracy because of this quiet, listening for even the smallest sound of prey rustling in snow or leaves. No flutter, no whoosh, just silence. The owl's greatest weapon is its silence. Other birds create noise while they fly. It travels through the night like a winged shadow, a feathered ghost that is only audible when it decides to speak. Worms have the ability to grow back their whole body. Some animals die when cut in half. However, some flatworm species, such as planarians, are able to regenerate again from even small pieces. One can be divided into several pieces, each of which can develop into a whole, fully functional worm. This remarkable capacity for regeneration is attributed to a unique subset of stem cells known as neoblasts. These cells have the ability to change into any other kind of cell, regenerating organs, muscles, nerves, and even the brain. Researchers examine these organisms to learn more about how regeneration functions and whether it can one day aid in the healing of physical harm to humans. The flatworm wanders and splits in the quiet of freshwater ponds, and it always comes back whole after being broken. The refusal to undo life. Pigeons are able to identify human faces. Pigeons may appear to be commonplace as they fly through cities and pick at crumbs, yet they are incredibly cunning. According to studies, they are able to identify distinct human faces and can recall who has and has not fed them. Pigeons can recognize humans by their facial traits alone, even if they change their clothes. Their highly developed visual memory, which also enables them to travel great distances and even discriminate between words or creative styles in lab settings, includes this skill. Once trained, certain pigeons may learn sequences or sort objects by category, behaviors previously believed to be exclusive to primates. They become part of the background in the hustle and bustle of the city. However, these birds are observing, recalling, and gaining knowledge. Maybe they already know you, and the city is their sky. Ancient viral DNA is present in your body. Your cells contain a secret history of infections from long ago, in addition to your forebears. Retroviruses that infected our remote ancestors provided about 8% of the human genome. These viruses permanently altered human DNA by inserting their genetic material into reproductive cells. Some of these viral sequences have changed and become quiet over millions of years. Others, such as those involved in placenta formation and brain development, are being repurposed by evolution to fulfill beneficial purposes. In a very real way, you are a virus. Though not infected, the instructions that define you are sculpted by the echoes of ancient fights. There are many facets to the human body. It is a compilation of survival stories from long-forgotten species. A hidden fungus is the largest living organism. It doesn't tar. It remains motionless. It doesn't roar. However, fungi are the biggest living thing on the planet. And in Oregon, it lives in peace beneath a forest. A massive network of mycelium, the thread-like roots of fungal life, descends from one single Armillaria fungus, which spreads underground across 2,000 acres. It is thought to have been around for thousands of years. Sometimes it grows mushrooms above ground. The true creature, however, feeds on tree roots and connects the forest in a silent web while living in the dark. It is unrivaled in size, age, and reach. Yet it is not the tallest, fastest, or brightest. It's possible that the secret world beneath your feet is more vibrant than the vegetation above. Bees can pick up knowledge by observing one another. Bees are intelligent in addition to being busy. In one experiment, bees were trained to roll little balls into a goal in order to be rewarded with sugar. By observing, other bees in the vicinity rapidly picked up the work. They even refined the method, coming up with more effective ways to finish it. Primates and birds are the only animals that exhibit this type of social learning through observation and imitation. Despite having little brains, bees appear to have a flexible intellect that transcends instinct. Knowledge spreads like nectar inside the hive, not through instruction or words, but through silent example and subsequent action. More than pollen is carried by the flutter of wings. It conveys concepts. Half of the brains of some fish are awake while they sleep. Although everyone gets sleep, there are significant differences in how it occurs. There is evidence of unihemispheric sleep in several fish, such as parrotfish and some shark species. At any given time, just one half of their brain is at rest. The other half stays vigilant, keeping an eye on the environment and managing gradual, steady motion. Because of this adaptation, fish may be conscious of barriers, currents, and predators while they are at rest. Similar sleep patterns enable dolphins and whales to breathe voluntarily and maintain their buoyancy. Sleep is never absolute underwater. It's cautious, partial, and strikes a careful balance between survival and restoration. The ocean remains awake even in dreams. In addition to concealment, chameleons alter their color to reflect their mood. Despite their stunning color changes, chameleons are not only used for camouflage. Social cues, temperature, and emotion all affect how they change color. They can look brown or green when they're at ease, but they can change to vivid yellows, blues, or reds during mating displays, confrontation, or excitement. They accomplish this by rearranging the structural color, physics, and not paint, but by working with microscopic crystals in their skin that reflect light in different ways. Chameleons use their changing colors to convey messages, invitations, cautions, or submission signals. Their skin serves as a message, and the forest as a stage. Not only a disguise, but a statement. Animal migration is influenced by the Earth's magnetic field. The Earth's magnetic field is made up of invisible lines of force that extend from pole to pole all around us. Many animals are also able to sense them. Sea turtles return to their birth beaches using magnetic signatures. Birds having an internal compass, such as warblers and robins, can travel thousands of miles. From the ocean, salmon make their way to the precise stream where they hatched. The field is even used by certain bacteria and insects for orientation. There is still some mystery around the mechanism. Light-sensitive proteins in the eyes or microscopic magnetite crystals in the body could be involved. However, the outcome is evident. Life hears the soil whispering instructions. There are always fresh ways to start over in life. Life has continued despite extinctions, natural disasters, and cosmic odds. It rose from oceanic boiling vents, traveled across continents, flew, swam far, buried itself, and rose into the sky. It adjusted to time, vacuum, acid, heat, and cold. It always came up with a new shape or tactic when it appeared to be cornered. It developed armor, fur, feathers, and intellect. It constructed towns, nests, and coral reefs and root systems. Even now, life is starting over and over again in the hottest springs, the saltiest lakes, and the darkest caverns. Not flawless, not always attractive, but unwaveringly committed in every leaf, breath, and cell in you and me. The story is still being written, and the experiment is still ongoing. Now that the last detail has been gently included, allow the world to become quieter around you. We have traversed forests and oceans, tundras and deserts, mountaintops and old roots. We have heard whale songs, the brilliance of jellyfish, and the quiet chatter of plants. A single truth subtly reverberates beneath the surface of everything. Life is unique. Because it endures, not because it is flawless. It adjusts, it persists, and we're still surprised by it. A coral is spewing its eggs into the darkness somewhere right now. In its sleep, a bird is flying. A flower is keeping track of a bee's movements. This story also involves you, made of nature, not apart from it. Memories and movements, cells and sparks, a living thread in the Earth's long unfolding pattern. So let your mind relax wherever you are. Breathe slowly. Allow the edges of your thoughts to soften. The adventure is far from over. Here, it just stops till curiosity beckons once more. Get enough sleep, and we appreciate you sharing our dreams.